It's been over a year, but it still fit me. Hey everybody, as you can see from my pumpkin shirt, today is another episode of Multi-Voice-Oween. Yeah, and you know, I decided to review something that I remember watching when I was, maybe really young, maybe like back in 2005 or 2006. Back then, I started to love Halloween, starting to love the holiday itself. So, I wanted to watch something that is kid-friendly and completely Halloween themed. And then when I turned on Cartoon Network, because most of the channels I love watching Halloween specials from is usually at Disney, Cartoon Network, or Nickelodeon. And then I saw this movie that pretty much got my entire attention. And this one showed up on Cartoon Network. And this one is called none other than Scary Godmother. You know, on most fairy tales there always be a fairy godmother. Well, there's a scary godmother. At first I didn't know anything about the scary godmother, but after doing some research, I was pretty surprised to know this. It was actually based on a children's comic book. That's right. Scary Godmother was based from a children's comic book. And it was created by this lovely lady named Jill Thompson. And you know one thing about me and Jill Thompson have in common? We both love Halloween. That's something we both definitely have in common. And if you start paying attention to the book and the animated movie, there's a similarity between the Scary Godmother and the creator. Jill Thompson made the Scary Godmother look more like her. Heck, sometimes being the creator, we always imagine ourselves as the characters we know and love, or we created and love. Now, she made like series of comic books of the Scary Godmother, but sadly only made 2 movies. And you know, one of these days, if I ever go to my favorite comic book store, I might ask for some Scary Godmother comics. See if there are any, there's a graphic novel about them. Now, let's see, what was I? Oh yeah, the story itself. Scary Godmother. Now, the first movie they made, Scary Godmother, the Halloween Spooktacular, is what they call the first one. It all started about this one little girl who goes by the name of Hannah. Now, one thing about Hannah is that she's easily scared. She's easily frightened over monsters and ghoulish things. Kind of reminds me of some of the, kind of reminds me of my cousin. She's always been scared of everything. But anyway, in the story, there's a boy named Jimmy, who is actually Hannah's cousin, and Hannah's parents wants Jimmy to take Hannah out for trick-or-treating. But Jimmy, he has other plans. Him and 3 of his friends, a boy, a girl, and a black kid. That one boy dressed up as a piece of candy. The girl, she dressed up as a cat. And as for the black kid, he dressed up as a baseball player driving a convertible. Snazzy. While Jimmy, on the other hand, he dressed up as the devil. Well, speak of the devil, Jimmy. Now, he wanted to do a lot of trick-or-treating with his friends and thinks that Hannah slows him down. So he decided to do something really bad to Hannah by sticking her into this one big, scary house in the middle of their town. Now, one thing I gotta say about the series, not series, but the cartoon itself. Now, I love CGI. I really do. I love CGI. CGI is really cool. But the problem about CGI is sometimes there are some CGIs that are awesome, like Shrek or Pixar. And then there are some other CGIs that are pretty bad. Just straight up bad. Anyway. But this one, the CGI works of this, it was okay. I mean, it's not all that great, but it was okay. But the story of itself I liked the most. Anyway, Jimmy and his friends decided to ditch Hannah by abandoning her in that big spooky house, waiting for her to scream real loud and run away screaming. So what shows what they know, huh? And now comes the Scary Godmother. And she decided to take her over to her place. The Scary Godmother, who is actually a witch, rode her broomstick and take her to her Halloween world, where all the monsters live. But Hannah starts to realize that all the monsters are not as bad as they think. Some of the monsters are good guys. First monster that Hannah sees is, of course, Scully. He's the skeleton in everybody's closet who knows everybody's secrets. And he always talks like this. Hello, I am Scully. I'm everybody's skeleton in their closets. Oh, please, I always know what's going on there. But of course it's made for kids, so... But I know exactly what they were going for. And then here comes the werewolf, who goes by the name of Harry. Now, unlike Scully, Harry is a werewolf who likes the finer things. He likes to bore people over his conversation, but of course one thing he likes the most, he likes to stuff his face with food. And he talks like this. Mahalo! I am Harry, and I love the finer things in life, like pizza, or some delicious treats like caramel apple, and popcorn balls. And then here comes the vampires of the group. Now, it's a vampire couple. There is, I know the father, his name is Max. Reference of Max Shrek from Nosferatu. Who kind of sounds like this. Good evening, I am Max, and I am Lord of the Undead, and this is my beautiful wife. This is my beautiful wife, Ruby. Ruby, who is his vampire wife, and they both have a son named Orville. And Hannah and Orville, they got along just perfect. But you know one thing that I always kind of find a little funny? Most of the die-hard fans of Scary Godmother, everybody's been making fan-made art of Hannah and Orville. I mean, it's like they're trying to make a Twilight parody with Hannah and Orville. That's just plain up silly. And then, from out of nowhere, here comes the biggest monster of all, a 1,000 bug-eyed, horned, big-mouth monster named Bugaboo. Now what he is, his job is he scares kids. He sneaks in the kids' closets and under the bed and like scaring them. And he talks like this.
Hey, what's going on here? I thought this was a party. Hey, if I'm scaring kids in this world, I must be putting in overtime.
But of course Hannah doesn't like Bugaboo because of the way he looks. She judge over his appearance, but it turns out he's not as bad as she thinks. He's a very friendly guy, even though he's big, but he's very friendly, very jolly. I mean, he likes kids, his job is he just scares them, that's it. And Hannah does get really frightened over Bugaboo, but throughout the entire movie, she starts getting along with Bugaboo. And that's about it in a nutshell. But of course, as they were partying and ready to go for the feast, sadly...
Hey, don't judge me. Your food was so delicious, so I indulged myself.
He pretty much scarfed the entire food. So, one thing they had to do, order pizza. So, they finally ordered pizza, but for punishment for Harry, he needs to do a lot more cleaning work on their house for the mess he made.
We're like, oh, please, Fairy Godmother, anything but that. I'm much too important for the party. For me to do slave labor.
And then after the whole entire party was over, Scary Godmother and her friends decided to do a little payback over Jimmy and her friends. They decided to scare the daylights out of them. So, meanwhile, Jimmy and his friend, who just keeps on making lame jokes and such, being outside and going like, we should have been trick-or-treating. It's almost over. So, they decided to go into the house to look for Hannah, and here comes all the monsters scaring the daylights out of them. And Hannah shows up, shining a flashlight at them, and they all act all, oh, the light! Ah. And that was the end of Scary Godmother. But not for long. It turned out to be a huge success that they decided to do a sequel now. So therefore, I show you Scary Godmother 2, Jimmy's Revenge. In this story, well, anyway, in this one, Jimmy gets paranoid and scared because he doesn't learn his lesson. He thinks the monster's coming out to eat him. So the only thing he's thinking about doing is he wants to destroy Halloween. What he does, he saw off the legs off the bottom of his bed, emptied out his closet, and decided to not take a shower, so he's wearing the same clothes throughout the week. And also put in booby traps. He hung up a bunch of flashlights on the ceiling of his home and put a lot of balloons, so anytime when he hears a pop, that means somebody's sneaking in. But Hannah, on the other hand, she made friends with Jimmy's friends, and they learned their lesson, and they decided to have a party over at the old house. But Jimmy, he keeps on trying to destroy Halloween any way he can. At first, he decided to smash the pumpkin by kicking at him with his feet, just until he started having a limp. I guess he must have put out a hammy. He started to have a little limp all of a sudden and think that Halloween is over because all the pumpkins are smashed. But Hannah, she was smart enough to decorate the outer area of the pumpkin, so therefore it's a goofy looking pumpkin. So Halloween is back. And the next thing that Jimmy decided to do, he decided to destroy the costume store. Now, logically, that's vandalism, and he would have been arrested for that. What he did is he use a red marker and start writing signs like these costumes are flammable and this candies are poison. Gosh, what an a-hole. So now, without any costumes or any candy, they cannot celebrate Halloween. And they thought it was ruined, again. But Hannah, being the smart one, she decided they can use the costume that they used last time and think up something different. And of course, over at the old house, there's plenty of candy there. So, Halloween is saved. But Jimmy, being too much of a jerk, he wants to destroy it once and for all by doing one thing. Anyway, Jimmy decided to sneak into the party. Sneak into the party so he can destroy, because he wants to destroy the most trophiest thing in the world. Because they decided to have a costume party. Whoever makes the best costume win the contest and gets a huge pumpkin of surprise. So Jimmy decided to sneak in and try to steal the pumpkin of surprise. He was sneaking in to try to steal the pumpkin of surprise. But when he bumped into Bugaboo, he scared Bugaboo, and he was like,
Hey, kid, that was a good one. You scared the daylights out of me. You're all right, kid.
And pretty much, Jimmy finally got into the spirit of Halloween, and they finally turned him back to normal because he was making faces, and they stayed that way, and he was acting all evil. But the Scary Godmother turned him back to himself. Because if you hate Halloween, you're going to be becoming something evil. Trust me. So pretty much, they welcomed Jimmy and everybody, and they had a great time. And that was the end of Scary Godmother and Revenge of Jimmy. Now, I don't know about you, but I love these movies, and I love watching them. They're very memorable, and they just screams out Halloween. Because Halloween always been my favorite. And I also heard that Jill Thompson is going to be making another one. Dang bugs. Anyway, Jill Thompson is going to be planning to make a new one. I don't know if it's going to be a sequel of Scary Godmother. But here's one thing I would tell you. Scary Godmother's getting way popular lately. Heck, you can even go to eBay and buy yourself a Scary Godmother doll. Of course, I'm not a doll collector. So anyway, if Jill Thompson makes another one, I can't wait to see it. Well, this is my review of Scary Godmother. For those of you who likes this review, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe. And you better stay tuned, because more Multi-Voice-Oween will be coming up soon, so...